Hey everyone, I'm Aimee, and welcome back to Stage Midlife. If this is your first time here, hello, and I'm really glad you found this channel. Stage Midlife is where I talk honestly about navigating your late 30s and 40s, the identity shifts, the life transitions, and all the messy, beautiful in between stuff that doesn't get talked about enough. If you watch my first video, welcome back. It truly means a lot that you're here again. Today, I want to talk about something I've been sitting with for a while, and I still don't have a clean answer for it. Am I burnt out? I genuinely don't know. And the more I look into it, the more I realize that not knowing might actually be part of the answer. When I think about burnout, the clinical version, the one that we talk about in healthcare, I picture someone who can't get out of bed, someone who cries on the way to work, someone who is exhausted to their bones, can't sleep, and snaps at everyone around them. That is definitely not me. My sleep is fine, my mood is good, my marriage is great. I'm genuinely happy in my life outside of work. I am excited for this channel. I still love to travel. I still laugh. And I still have energy for the things and the people I love. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm not burnt out. Maybe I'm just being dramatic. Maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe after nearly 2 decades of nursing, I'm just fed up. But then I'd go to work, and that feeling would come back. This quiet, heavy feeling of, I don't want to be here. Not because anything terrible happened, not because someone was awful to me, just this deep, persistent loss of something I used to have. The motivation, the love for the job, and that confused me because I used to genuinely love nursing. I want to say that clearly because I think it matters. I didn't always feel this way. When I started nursing, when I moved to Australia at 24 by myself, with nothing but my registration and a whole lot of determination, nursing was everything. It was my purpose. It was my identity. It was how I proved to myself that I could build a life on the other side of the world from scratch. And for years, it delivered on that. Emergency nursing, especially, the pace, the urgency, the feeling that what you do in that room, in that moment, actually matters. Rural and remote nursing, flying into communities that didn't have many people willing to show up. That felt meaningful in a way that's hard to put into words. I gave that work almost half my life, 14 years in rural and remote alone. And somewhere along the way, gradually, quietly, something shifted. I was at work recently, just a regular shift, and I found myself looking around the hospital and thinking something that kind of stopped me in my tracks. I have been coming to hospitals for almost half my life. Think about that. Since I was in my early 20s, hospitals have been where I spend my time. They shape my schedule, my identity, my friendships, my sense of purpose. And then this other thought came, quieter, a little sadder. When I get old, I'll probably be spending a lot of time in hospitals again, just for very different reasons. It hit me in a way I wasn't expecting. Not in a dark way, just in a very honest, very human way. There's something about midlife that makes you do that kind of maths. You start counting the years behind you and the years ahead of you. And you ask yourself, how do I want to spend what's left? And for the first time in my career, my honest answer wasn't in a hospital. I went looking for answers. I'm a nurse. I do that. I look things up. And what I found is that burnout isn't always the dramatic collapse I imagined. Burnout in healthcare often shows up as emotional exhaustion, not necessarily physical exhaustion. It shows up as detachment, as going through the motions, as losing the connection to why you started doing the work in the first place. You can still function, you can still show up, you can still do the job competently, but something inside has quietly switched off. And when I read that, I thought, oh, that's familiar. Now I want to be careful here because I'm not diagnosing myself on camera. I'm not a psychologist, and this is not medical advice. What I'm doing is just being honest about my experience and reflecting on it openly. But here's what I keep coming back to: the fact that I'm only disengaged at work and genuinely alive and motivated everywhere else tells me something important. It tells me this isn't about me becoming a different person. It isn't about me losing my drive or becoming lazy. It's specifically about this job, this role, this chapter. And maybe that's okay. Here's a thought I've been sitting with lately. What if the feeling isn't burnout in the broken sense? It isn't laziness either. What if it is completion? What if I gave nursing everything I had for as long as it needed? And now that part of my story is moving into a different phase. That doesn't mean I stopped nursing. I'm still working casual shifts. I still show up. I still care about my patients. That part hasn't gone anywhere. But maybe the version of me who needed to be defined by nursing, the one who flew remote, who worked all shifts, who was always the one willing to go the extra distance. Maybe she's done what she came to do. And maybe that's not sad. Maybe that's actually something worth acknowledging. What this whole process has taught me is that sometimes the signs of needing change are not loud and obvious. Sometimes they're quiet. Sometimes it's just a feeling you get walking into work that you didn't used to have. Sometimes it's doing the maths on your life and realizing you want the next chapter to look different from the last one. Sometimes it's noticing that you're most alive, most motivated, most energized, most yourself when you are anywhere except the place you've spent your whole adult life. That's not nothing, that's information. And I think one of the gifts of midlife, if we're willing to actually sit with it instead of push through it, is that it asks us to pay attention to that information, to stop performing the life we built, and start asking if it still fits. So, am I burnt out? I honestly still don't know what label to put on it. What I do know is that for almost 20 years, I showed up for nursing with everything I had. And now at 40, something in me is asking for something different, something slower, something more mine. And I've decided that's worth listening to, even if I can't name it perfectly yet. If you're watching this and you recognize that feeling, not the dramatic crash, just a quiet fading of something you used to love, I just want you to know that you're not lazy, you're not weak, you're not broken. You might just be ready for the next thing, even if you don't know what it is yet. Neither do I. But here's what I've started doing: small, quiet things that are genuinely helping me move through this season with a little more grace. Nature walks, reading, protecting my weekends, reclaiming my time. Next video, I'm going to talk about all of that, what I'm actually doing day to day to help myself through this midlife shift. Nothing dramatic, nothing expensive, just small, honest changes that are making a real difference. I'll see you there.